everyone, welcome back. In the reveal stream for Title Update 16, Massive teased one new edition coming with Season 11 or TU17, due to release in December of this year, if the updated timeline is to be trusted. This new edition is a PvE game mode called Descent, and we have very limited information about what this will entail, but today I wanted to go over what details we do have, and mainly talk about how this could be a real game changer, the likes we haven't seen since Survival was added into the Division. Drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos, and let's begin. To start off then, let's go over the Reddit post which details everything that Massive had to say about this new PvE mode. They describe it as a roguelite mode, and when you start a session, the mode takes away your gear. It is just not available, you get it back once you leave the session, and you basically start from scratch. You have to use the mechanics in the game mode to become more powerful as you progress and take on harder and harder challenges. I will say that as it's called Descent, I believe we'll be going downwards. Once the session is over, because you died or you decided to exit, you cash in your reward and you will start from scratch again. There are of course rewards and there is permanent progression. You can expect something very different to the game modes that we already have in the game. Starting from scratch does not mean that you have to put together a build every time you start a session. There will not be loot in the classic sense in this game mode. You will loot talents in the game mode, and then you'll combine these talents on your character in that mode. This way you can combine mechanics that the game usually does not allow, and that way you can create completely new playstyles, completely new builds and ways to play the game. You can also create combinations that makes you way more powerful than you could be in the regular game. But once the session is over, this is reset and you have to start over. You can decide after each room if you want to progress or if you want to leave the session. Now that's basically what we know about this new game mode, and you would have seen there some images taken from this game mode that were included in the TU16 stream. Now firstly, I've seen some people referring to this as Survival for the Division 2, but this isn't going to play anything like Survival based on what we know. Instead, this appears to be more akin to the game Hades, a game that I've not actually played myself, but this is a roguelike game. Here, just listen to this Wikipedia description of how the game Hades plays, and then see how similar in it sounds to this new game mode. Players control Zagreus, the son of Hades, as he attempts to escape from the underworld to reach Mount Olympus, at times aided by gifts bestowed on him from the other Olympians. Each run challenges the player through a random series of rooms populated with enemies and rewards. The game has a hack and slash combat system. The player uses a combination of their main weapon attack, a special attack, a dash ability and a magic ability to defeat them while avoiding damage to progress as far as possible. While Zagreus will often die, the player can use gained treasure to improve certain abilities or attributes, or unlock new weapons and abilities to improve chances of escaping on subsequent runs. So you can probably see the kind of comparison between what we've got so far for this new Descent mode with what I've just described from the Hades game, and that's kind of the basis of how roguelites work, generally speaking. Now more recently, a new roguelite game mode was added to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so it looks like Ubisoft may think this is a new direction for their games. We've got it in Assassin's Creed, it's coming in the Division. I'm not sure if it's going to be added as a new mode to any other Ubisoft titles. We don't know at this moment in time, but I've got to admit, I'm kind of up for this. There's a couple of things that really excite me from what Massive have said, which I want to go over and talk about. Firstly, there is permanent progression. One of Survival's biggest pitfalls has to be no progression. Now, whilst that might be something hardcore players didn't care much about, I suspect this may have been one of the biggest reasons why, even at its peak, Survival never quite got the audience it deserved. I really hope Massive can get this part right. Progression is going to be permanent, has to be a permanent thing that is constantly evolving, and I do hope as well that they don't make it too slow, because what I can see is what they've kind of done with other systems that have been added to the game, expertise, all of that other stuff, where they make the grind really, really, really slow, and that will put players off. It needs to be at a good pace, not too quick, not too slow, a steady pace, and then and that progression will ensure that players are generally going to always go back in there. The other thing that is absolutely paramount to the success of this game mode has to be the rewards, of course. The Summit is a good example of rewards not living up to the time consumed. Once you had reached level 100 and you got the vanity items from the hunters, there's really no point in going back apart from targeted loot, which you can do pretty much anywhere in the world anyway. Now, Countdown is a lot better, giving you tokens to purchase caches for exotics, etc. Plus, you get a ton of name drops and high roll drops from the hunter kills as well. Descent needs to build on this, though. I personally want Massive to add unique exotics to this mode. That's something we got in survival, not in survival, in the Summit as well. But also unique vanity items and just other unique things in the game. Now, I'm a big fan of some items being specific to certain areas, even if I'm personally unable to obtain them. I think it gives those modes a huge reason to play. Look at raids, for example. A lot of people have been screaming for the Eagle Bearer in raids to be added to the general loot pool. I'm one of those people that's against that. Not because I have one. I luckily got it on my first ever run. Not because I have one, but because I feel like when you take stuff out of those modes become less attractive. It's the same with Iron Horse, for example. I don't have the exotics like Regulus and whatnot from those modes. And I don't expect to get those because I haven't invested the time in that raid in order to get them. And that's fine with me. Some people won't agree with that, but that's just my take. And I think that it needs to be somewhat similar with this game mode where we lock stuff behind it, and if you're not investing your time in that mode, then I'm sorry, but you do not get those rewards. If you couple that with a unique game mode, the like we've never seen, a roguelite is not a game mode that we've ever had in the Division, and you could be onto a winner here if you have both of those things kind of going hand in hand. The last thing that I want to mention, and it's definitely not last on the list because this is also very, very important and something I'm very, very excited about with this game mode, is the endless possibilities. Now, instead of gear, we're going to get talent combinations that you cannot get outside of this mode. This is going to create some crazy gameplay, I'm sure. I'm looking at a lot of creators who create builds in this game who are definitely going to be the go-to people to tell you kind of which way to go. Marker Blades, I'm looking at you, for example. So I'm very, very excited to see what these possibilities are. The only negative, and I feel like I have to put this in here, but I may do a separate video on this actually. My only negative is, if we go into this roguelite game mode and we are unbelievably strong, we've got all these crazy possibilities, these crazy talent combinations and builds, the rest of the game isn't going to quite feel that, it's going to make the rest of the game feel worse because we can't get that stuff outside of that game mode. So you're going to go in there, you're going to be very strong, you're going to be destroying stuff, you step out of that game mode and the rest of the game is just going to feel worse because of it. That's my only gripe with this, but look, that may not be anything at all. It might not be like that at all. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. We have limited information at the moment, so I'm just going on what we know so far. But let me know what you think about this in the comments section down below. Are you excited by what you've heard from Massive with this roguelike game mode? I'm eagerly waiting on some gameplay to see how this plays out. I want to thank you all for watching today's video. I really, really do appreciate all of you for spending your hard-earned time watching this video. Appreciate it. Until the next one, guys, epic out.